Okay, all set. So, hi everybody. Monique Priestley from the Space on Main, and I have Alex from the Journal Opinion, and we're hosting facilitating a Meet the Candidate event for the Bradford Selectboard candidates. This is in webinar mode, so for anybody who's new to this kind of Zoom format, you're all muted. We can't hear you as far as any attendees, so don't worry if you can't find the unmute button. We also can't see you, and chat is also disabled. We're gonna do, Alex is gonna do some introductions followed by questions, then we'll do some public questions. During that time, you'll be able, and even before actually, you can start using the Q&A feature. Alex and I, as well as the select board candidates, will be able to see those. And then Alex or I will help in kind of announcing those questions. We'll kind of pick and choose from those lists. We can also, you can have the raise hand feature, and we'll just go ahead and do that, and we'll promote you to a panelist so that you can ask your question verbally. And then we'll demote you back to an attendee when you're done. If you are, I don't know if we have anybody just called in. Doesn't look like we do, but just in case, I'll go over if you do end up calling in, anybody who needs to jump off, *6 is to unmute for a dial tone phone, and *9 will allow you to raise your hand. And I think for the most part, if we get a lot of people kind of asking, or a few people asking a lot of questions over and over, we'll kind of give preference to newer people to ask their questions before cycling back through. So at this point, I'll just turn it over to Alex.
Great, thank you so much, Monique. And just before we meet the candidates, just a little bit of background. Of course, for folks, many of you will already know, but typically at Bradford Town Meeting, candidates for Select Board and for other offices, for that matter, are nominated on the floor at the BA auditorium on town meeting day. And usually after the nomination has been made and seconded, the candidates, or a surrogate in some cases, get an opportunity to say a few words about themselves and about why they want the job. So of course, this is not a typical year, and we won't be going to the BA auditorium for town meeting on March 2nd, which is why we're doing tonight's event, is to give the select board candidates at least an opportunity to tell us who they are and for us to get to know them a little bit better. With that, the first couple of questions tonight are going to be pretty straightforward. I asked the candidates to prepare a few remarks to introduce us to them, to introduce themselves, pardon me. And we'll get that started in just a second. And then after they've all introduced themselves, we'll go back one by one and hear from them about why they why they're seeking a post on the select board. And then after that, we'll get into some broader questions. So let's get started. I conducted a highly technical random drawing before tonight's meeting, and I'm going to start with Sarah. Sarah, could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Hi. I was waiting for there to be another Sarah, because there's always another Sarah, but not today. Hello, my name is Sarah Surette. I moved to Bradford with my husband and 3 children in October of 2020. We've been a homeschooling family for 3 years and are really enjoying all of the resources that this area has to offer. I worked in a salon franchise for 8 years and managed for a portion of that time. I started a homeschool cooperative just before moving to Vermont. I picked up freelance writing jobs when I have the time. I've started 2 businesses, one on my own and one with my husband, Curtis. I love being busy, and I usually have several projects going at one time.
Cool.
So.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Appreciate it. All right, next up, Meroa.
Hi there. My name is Meroa Benjamin, and I am a full-time, lifelong resident of Bradford. In 2015, I retired from the state of Vermont after 33 years of service as business manager with the Vermont Department of Corrections. I worked up in the St. Johnsbury Correctional Complex. While working with the state, I have had a lot of experience that helped me with my assessment of prior learning to where I earned my degree through Community College of Vermont. Right now, I am president of the Bradford Historical Society, and I'm really pleased with how we've moved the virtual museum along during these unprecedented times. And I'm looking forward to some more of good work. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Pete. Carole, you're up next. Carole?
Carole Taylor, and I'm also a lifelong resident of Bradford, with the exception when my husband was in the military, but otherwise I've been a Bradford resident. I worked 30 years for the Vermont State Police as a dispatcher here in Bradford, retired 4 weeks and went back to the Bradford Police Department because I couldn't take retirement. So that's pretty much my history.
Thank you, Carole. Todd, you're next.
Hi, everyone. First, I want to start off by saying thanks to Monique and Alex for pulling this together for all of us. So I am Todd Danis. I grew up in Burlington, but I moved to Bradford after I graduated from Lyndon State in 2004. So while I've only lived in Bradford for 17 years now, my wife's family, Lunny and Cindy Lang, have lived in Bradford their whole lives. And I'm sure most everyone on here knows Lunny because, you know, Lunny knows everybody. I began my career working as an accountant for over 4 years, and then I sort of transitioned into an administrator role for a short time, and then I moved into healthcare. I've been in healthcare now for about 11 years, and in my current role as the Regional and System Integration Coordinator for Dartmouth-Hitchcock, I've been there for about 6 years. A lot of people ask me like what it is that I do and what that is, but well, I work closely with the 5 system hospitals as well as the other 15 hospitals that belong to the New England Alliance for Health. I've built good relationships with the CEOs and the other members of the administrative teams at those hospitals. A big part of my job is extracting and analyzing data for these hospitals to help drive strategic initiatives to provide better health care for the region. I also am raising 2 wonderful children with my wife. Our son is currently at Bradford Elementary, and our daughter is attending Oxbow with a bragging dad moment that she's worked extremely hard during all of this stuff to maintain all A's. So we're pretty proud of her on that. So that's me.
Great, thank you, Todd. And Anna.
Hi, everybody. I'm Anna Davidson. I've lived in Bradford for 30 years. Minus the time I went to college in Boston, where I achieved my bachelor's degree in 2 years. And then I moved back to Bradford. I currently work at the post office. I've been there for almost a decade now. I know every single Bradford person, even if you don't know me. I know you. I am in a management position there. I also have achieved my yellow belt in Lean Six Sigma business strategy, which is about how to problem solve and lead in project development. I've helped gain several hundreds of thousands of dollars towards different things with my business. I have been involved in a lot of nonprofits in the Bradford area, which it feels inappropriate to brag about that, but if anyone's interested to learn more about that, feel free to contact me privately and I'd be more than happy to talk to you about it. And I'm interested in running for select board because I would like to make a difference.
And we'll hear a little bit more about that, Anna. So before we get to the next question, I did want to just let folks know to tell you a little bit why we have all 5 candidates here tonight. Carole, who's actually currently on the select board, is the only announced candidate for her 2-year term seat. The other 4 are all the declared candidates for the 3-year term that's being vacated by Randy Moore, who's not seeking re-election. So that just gives you a little bit of an idea of the sort of the dynamics as we head into town meeting. And then one more thing, I did ask the candidates to limit their responses tonight to 2 minutes apiece. So I will be giving them a warning, if any of them do approach that limit. Let's find out a little bit more about why everyone wants to be on the select board, and we'll go in the same order that we started. So Sarah, could you start us off? Why are you seeking a seat on the select board?
Hi, sure. This town has an amazing, sorry, this town has an amazing close-knit community. I've noticed through things that I've read about the town and things that I've witnessed that if there's a problem, action is taken to resolve it. If there's a need, individuals will go out of their way to offer a hand. And that's an incredible environment to own a home and set down roots and raise a family. And even though I am new to this area, I want to be a part of that. And I want to model that active involvement for my children. I started learning about Bradford before moving here, and I will continue to inform myself on issues, events, needs, accomplishments during the entire time I live here. And I would love the opportunity to collaborate with the community and other members of the select board to help preserve what's working and improve upon what isn't.
Great. Thank you, Sarah. Meroa, you're next.
Okay, I wanted to add to Alex to what you were saying. I'm a write-in candidate as well. So people have to remember that I will not be on the ballot due to my late decision in deciding to run, but I really do want the position. I feel that my experience as business manager has given me a lot of experience that I would like to share with the town. My years of purchasing items for 2 facilities and dealing with large amounts of money and making the bottom line balance out will be a good asset to the select board and the town and its residents. I feel that I have a good network of people in town that will help if asked or if given the opportunity. And I think we need more people to stand up and say that they're willing to do something for Bradford. I've been on numerous boards in my past life, and my experience in training to be a leader, and I am a Vermont certified public manager who has a lot of experience in having other people work with us and identifying needs and solutions to those needs. So I feel my interest in Bradford is a lifelong interest. The timing is right for me now. I had other commitments. I didn't feel I could do it when my daughter was young. And when I was older, I was taking care of my mother who has dementia, and that was a full-time job too. So now I have the time and the opportunity, and I'd like to serve. Thank you.
Thank you, Peep. Carole, you're already on the board. Why do you want to go back?
Because this is one of the organizations that I enjoy the most. I was asked, when I first came on, I was asked by one of the town officials if I would run because they felt that there should be a woman on the board. And I was elected the first female on the select board at Bradford, and I'm very proud of that. I listen to the taxpayers when they come to me with questions. I take it to the board, I find answers, I get back to them. I think that's a very important thing to do in this town. And I feel that I have the support, and I do enjoy being on the select board.
Okay, great, thank you, Carole. Todd, you're next. Why do you want to be on the select board?
Well, I've been in Bradford long enough now to know that I love it here. My parents recently built the house and moved here. Raising kids here has been great. We both, all my wife and us, we like getting outdoors, and the kids and I like to get out and do a lot of things outdoors. And as you can tell, I'm a person that's dedicated to helping the community and continuing to make it safe for not only my family, but yours and everybody else watching. We continue to live in trying times, living with COVID, and, in one way or another, we've all been affected. And if elected, I plan to bring my analytical way of thinking to the role and help maintain a fiscal responsibility and do what I can to find solutions and help not raise taxes to the community, because as we mentioned, it is trying times. People are watching their money right now. And I pledge to work with all the select board members and all of our residents to just find a fair and balanced solution.
Thank you, Todd. Anna, you're next. Why do you want to be on the select board?
Hi, I would like to be on the select board because I would like to make a difference in the community, even if it's something small. I would like to help make the world a better place. And I feel like my experience in being in Bradford all of my life, as well as the training that I've put through with my work for project management, business strategy, and all that could help come into play with that. But I see all the people in Bradford and I love them and I hear them and I care and I would like to help.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. All right. Next, we're going to now sort of go out of order. We're not going to be following the same order that we have, and we're going to go into some other questions we have, and we'll start, entertaining questions from anyone who's watching. If they have anything that they want us to ask, we'll get to those in just a minute. But first, I did want to ask, and we'll start with Meroa. What is it that the select board does? Of course, there's a lot of requirements, legal standards that the select board must do as part of its oversight of the town. But there's also a lot that you can bring to the position and what you make of it. And so I wanted to hear from each of you on that subject. So Meroa, what does the select board do and what would you like to see it do?
The select board is a group of people that makes the town run, that oils the wheels to make the town run. And their biggest event is the taxes. We all need taxes. We know we need taxes. We need highway taxes. We need school taxes. We need to own our equipment and keep it running, and our resources and our youth, to engage our youth and keep them here. I think one of the big things that the select board needs to do is to encourage people to come to town for businesses and for housing purposes. We need good, strong community members to help us achieve that. The select board is here to make sure everyone is treated equally. And I think that we need to be here to make sure we have services that for everyone, regardless of what part of town that you live in, and how much money you make, and what you do for work. So I think that I can help do that. I think that my experience in understanding the taxpayer's burden, the school right now, we need to increase the support for Oxbow and the elementary school and our relationship with Newberry. I think we need to strengthen that. And I think the select board is a good place to start.
Thank you, Meroa.
Thank you.
Todd, you're next. What does the select board do, and what would you like to see the select board do over the next 3 years?
Well, thank you, Alex. And Meroa kind of touched on a lot of the same things that I sort of feel. It's a board of people that sort of ultimately make decisions, but need to listen to the people. Taxes are things that drive our community and drive the things that help pay for everything that we need in this town. And bottom line is people don't want to pay more in taxes, but in the end, at times there will need to be that, but it needs to be for the right items. For me, it's, we gotta make sure we're looking into where the money is going and what it's going to be used for. And it's just listening to the people of the town. I don't want to really kind of go back over everything that Meroa said because she touched on a lot of excellent points. So I'll end it there. Okay.
Thank you, Todd. Sarah, you're next. What about you? What does the select board do and what would you like to see it do?
Sure. In my mind, the select board is a group of people that were put in the position to, I'm sorry, there's multiple children downstairs getting upset at the same time. They were put in the position of kind of communicating with the community as a whole and figuring out where the needs are, not just with like one thing in mind, but the entire community and what is best, taking into consideration multiple different approaches, and also communicating and keeping an open line of communication with different groups and individuals within the community to get a good picture, like the Bradford Community Development Corporation, Bradford Business Association, Bradford Resilience. So that's what I see it as. And then through that and through all of that communication, make changes or decide what doesn't need to change.
Great. Thank you, Sarah, so much. Anna, you're next.
Sorry, I couldn't unmute. The select board is the mayo on the sandwich of the town. Kind of like the parents of the family. They're the ones who are there to listen to you, to help you with your problems, and to guide you in the way that you need to go, to implement rules, and to make things fair for everyone straight across the board.
Okay. Thank you, Anna. Carole?
Well, I think the select board is basically called the governing body of the town, but with everything that Peep has mentioned, I would like to see us do better on housing and businesses coming into town. And I'm hoping that's something that we can work on this year.
Great, thank you, Carole. Okay, one of the things, some of you have touched on this subject a little bit in your introductory remarks, but I would like to hear from everyone. One of the tasks that the select board does have is, of course, overseeing the town employees and its staff, and whether it's hiring them, whether it's supervising them and evaluating them, and ultimately setting pay rates, et cetera. And I wanted to hear from each of you whether you have experience in that front, and how you would bring any of that experience to bear as a select board member in Bradford. So let's start with Todd. Did you get us started?
Sure. So yeah, overseeing employees is something that I have done in my past, especially when I was in the administrator role. It was at a press company, so I was kind of overseeing all of the work and things for 3 different shifts that in the place ran 24 hours a day. So I was, getting phone calls in the middle of the night and things like that. And sometimes there are hard decisions that need to be made that are in the best interest for the company, town, or whatnot going forward. And I think that a big part is finding the right person to fit the role. That can eliminate a lot of problems down the line, making sure that you've vetted out everything and making sure you have the right person in the role. Keeping a good eye on the finances is always good. I know that you had mentioned, salaries and things like that. So you want to make sure that you're obviously compensating a person enough to keep them happy and interested. But you also don't want to overextend yourself to where you're then putting hardship on the town. So yes.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Todd. Anna, back to you. What kind of experience do you have overseeing employees or staff, or what kind of experience do you have that you could bring to that function as a select board member in Bradford?
So in the past, I've been a supervisor with the post office, and I'm currently in the postmaster in Plainfield, Vermont. So I oversee a lot of employees. I'm in charge of payroll. I'm in charge of hiring and firing and all that stuff. It's not a fun job, but it's something that's very important. I do have experience in it, and I've been doing it for 7 years now. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, Anna. Sarah, let's go to you.
So I've managed 2 different salons, and I created a personal assistant company. I have handled hiring and firing. It isn't fun. Honestly, either one has its own challenges, but when hiring or looking for someone to fill a position, it's important to know exactly what the work is, exactly what work needs to be done, what the budget is, like you said. And you do want to keep people happy. You want to pay them what they're worth. And you also, you know, if you're hiring someone for a position and they're qualified for the position, you need to give them the leeway to do their job. And you need to, you know, just keep an open mind. You can't just, you know, put a job forth and expect it to be done in exactly the same way as you would do it, because you're not the same person. And the same with firing. Sometimes it's just not good for the company or the job that needs to be accomplished. And, you know, sometimes all it takes is for the guidelines to be set a little bit clearer, or there's a miscommunication. Communication is huge when running anything. So.
Okay. Thank you, Sarah. Carole, you're next. Of course, you've been on the board for a few years, but I was wondering what you could add to this subject about overseeing employees, and whether you have past experience before you came on the board, and how you use that in your current position on the select board.
Prior to coming on to the board, I did assist in hiring part-time dispatchers and overseeing their workload. We've dealt with not many on the board, but we've dealt with a few people on the board, and I think it's gone well. I think that we all agreed with our decisions at the time.
Okay, thank you. And Meroa.
Document. Being a state employee, I am very familiar with hiring and firing. I was the personnel manager for the facility. When the work camp opened, I was the first employee that was hired for the work camp. So that meant we had to hire all the employees that was going to work there. I have interviewed and hired countless correctional officers. I have been on job fairs. I've written advertisements. I've sat in on many interviews. We always did panel interviews when we were interviewing. Firings, I've dealt with firings. I've dealt with the union dealing with the firing. As most employees in state government and Department of Corrections are union employees, that always adds another layer to the experience. The retention of the interview records, the evaluations, the job descriptions. There again, you can't hire an employee unless you have a clear job description of what the employee is going to be doing. You've got to fairly evaluate the employee on a regular basis, give them feedback on a regular basis. However, it's my understanding that the board really is responsible in the chain of command for very few employees, because where it's my understanding that as a member of the board, you're voted on by the public, and the other employees that are voted on by the public is not part of your chain of command. So there's a lot of communication that needs to go on instead of a boss relationship. So.
Okay, great.
Yes, I have experience.
Thank you, Meroa. Okay, great. All right, the next question is based on several questions that I got from readers, both before the event and a little bit from during tonight's event. But it's sort of a fun one. But you know, one of the important aspects of being in a leadership position, of course, is having a vision. And so I would like to ask each of you where you think Bradford where, you know, in sort of a pie in the sky, what would you like to see in Bradford in the next, say, 5 years from now? What do you wish Bradford would be like? And, you know, what's your ideal Bradford? So Carole, why don't we start with you?
Well, I think I'd go back to wanting more housing and more businesses coming in. I think that we're lacking in that.
Okay, thank you. Todd, let's go to you.
I agree with Carole. I think housing and businesses is a big important part. I'd like to sort of see the main street sort of filled up with everything. I know over the 17 years that I've been here, I've seen a lot of things sort of come and go. It would be nice to sort of see a business come and stay and thrive, especially local businesses, and that, you know, provide jobs for our community, which at that point, you know, can lead to housing and things like that. So that's sort of where I hope to see Bradford go, is a lot more opportunities for the current residents, and, you know, it's people that may want to move here, make it more of an appealing place.
Okay, great, thank you, Todd. Anna, you're next. What does the ideal Bradford look like to you?
So pie in the sky, as you referred to, I would like to see Bradford revert to the big Bradford it used to be before the interstate came in. Or as hustling and bustling. I mean, definitely keep the nice rural part, but I would like to see definitely more businesses, more traffic coming into the businesses, attracting more people. I mean, we definitely do have a lot of great businesses here in the area, but we're a very teeny tiny town, so we have to bring people out of town to Bradford to really make that happen. So finding a way to entice people to come to Bradford would be an important goal, I think.
Okay, thank you. And Sarah, you're next.
So I didn't see Bradford years ago, but I do know that through what I've been reading and hearing from other people, there is a real need for broadband. But as far as I understand, there's a town rep in place. Progress is underway, so that should be happening. I don't know if it's, I think the projection was several years. So within 5 years, there is housing. I think a determination of what type of housing is needed should be clarified. And then business support to get more businesses into the area. And from what I understand, between the Space on Main and the Bradford Business Association, there are proactive steps being taken. So I'd say, I mean, all in all, just things like supporting those things progressing. That's all.
Thank you, Sarah. And Meroa, next to you.
My vision would be a town where the kids, once they graduate from high school, want to stay here in town and are willing to stay here and contribute to be a productive member of the town. I hate to see them moving away and not coming back for a long time. I want to keep those resources. I think we need some type of lodging close by. If we want people to come to town and especially experience us for a couple days, we need to have a place for them to stay. I think we need more recreation type opportunities for people in town. And especially in light of the times now, people are staying closer to home. So let's try to entertain them. I think Elizabeth Park is great. There's other opportunities. I'd love to see a swimming pool. I found a newspaper article the other day where it said we would have a swimming pool within the next 5 years. And I think that was written in 1967. I think there's room for stuff like that if we want to, if we work hard enough on it. And I think the businesses in town is important. I do not feel that we need any more low-income housing. I feel we need middle-income housing for the retired people that want apartment living instead of owning a home. Apartments that is not a big complex, but maybe duplexes or something like that is what I would like to see more of.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you, Meroa. Okay, the next question, and I'll start with Anna. The next question touches a little bit on Bradford's small town existence. Of course, a lot of you mentioned Bradford as being a small town, and that's part of its charm. That also can have its drawbacks, particularly when you're on the select board. And what I'm talking about is about conflicts of interest. And I was wondering if you could tell us what you believe a conflict of interest is, and whether you might have a conflict in the community on any sort of topic of business that might come before the select board during your term. So Anna, could you tell us what in your mind is a conflict of interest, and are there any potential conflicts that you might have as a select board member?
So I would see it as almost being biased towards someone or something simply because of your like or dislike, your involvement in something. I think personally, I do not have a conflict of interest despite working at the post office, because I see everyone and everything equally. That's literally my job, is to not favor one thing above another. And I think that that is something that's very important to keep in mind. I mean, a lot of my family and friends live in this town, but just because they do doesn't mean something that they do keeps them above the law, or that we should definitely move forward with their project just because we had that one family barbecue one time. It's very important to put your personal involvement below when you're wearing your select board hat, and to remember that everyone is to be treated equally. The rule books are meant to be followed, and that everything is supposed to be fair across the board.
Great, thank you, Anna. Todd, let's go to you next.
So for me, a conflict of interest basically would be if, like Anna said, a friend or me or family member wanted or needed something and needed to be approved by the board, at which point I would be a decision maker, either of something that was an outcome of myself to either benefit me, family member, friend, something like that. And I currently have no conflicts of interest or anything of that nature for the town.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Todd. Carole, you're next.
Well, I have to agree with Todd on that, and I don't know of anything that I've had a conflict of interest on since I've been on the board, and I'm not sure that we have had anything of a conflict of interest that I can remember.
Okay, thank you. Meroa, you're next.
Conflict of interest to me is when somebody gains something that's duly based upon a decision or a action of another person. Conflicts of interest in a town this size is very frequent, really, because you do know everybody. You are related to everybody in town. But it's how you deal with those relationships that makes it important. The thing of it is, if there is some kind of a relationship issue that comes before the board, you need to know that and recluse yourself from that decision making. That's what's important. Also family. I mean, I do have a big family in town, and the family is growing all the time with down the line. However, and right off the bat, I'm sure people think that I'm related to Jennifer, Treasurer Jennifer, which I am. She's my husband's niece. But I don't see that as a conflict of interest in my position and her position as treasurer.
Okay, thank you, Meroa. And Sarah, you're wrapping us up the subject for us. What do you see? What is a conflict of interest, and would you have any potential conflicts of interest in the community?
Sure. I think I'm going to be mirroring what a lot of people said, but conflict of interest is when you stand to benefit monetarily or societally or benefiting in any way from a decision that needs to be made. And I think that an unbiased approach needs to be taken no matter what, because it's not you as an individual, it's you as an elected official that is there to do what the community needs and wants in some cases. And I definitely don't have any conflicts of interest because I just got here, so.
Great, thank you, Sarah. Okay, one question I wanted to ask, some of you have touched on this subject a little bit, but I wanted to hear a little bit more in detail about some of the other, of course, being a select board member is practically a volunteer job. There is a very small stipend, but it is essentially a volunteer position. And I'm curious to hear from some of you about what some of the other volunteer activities you're engaged in. And, you know, beyond just listing the activities, what kind of experience have you gleaned from those opportunities that you think might be helpful as a select board member? So actually, Sarah, we'll start right back with you. So I think you mentioned a couple of them, but what kind of other volunteer opportunities are you engaged in, and what kind of experiences have you learned that you think would be helpful as a select board member?
Sure. So right now I'm still in the process of actually taking active steps to figure out exactly how we can help during this time, and how I can help with my kids. I'm pregnant, so we just need to be safe while also doing everything we can. But what I have found so far is showing up for Green Up May on May 1st, I think is super important, and just kind of carrying that mindset throughout the entire year. And also getting involved with the senior center and seeing what I can do to help, and how my kids can help, because they are the next generation. And if they do it and they grow up doing it, then it's all the better. But through volunteer experiences in the past, I think it is hugely helpful because, you know, if someone needs help, or there is a need within the community, whether it's a person or something that needs to be done to benefit the community, it's important to see that as like it's not just you sacrificing your time to do something that is nice and looks good on paper. It's like genuinely making a difference to other people and other human beings in their lives, regardless of their walk of life, or you know, where they're at in their lives, or you know, what you may think of them personally. It's everybody's a human being, and everybody deserves the same kind of love and care. Great.
Thank you, Sarah. Meroa, you're next. What are some of the volunteer activities you've been engaged in, and what kind of experience from those activities would you bring to the board?
Well, most importantly, right now, as I said, I'm president of the Historical Society. Again, I think it's leadership. I think it's getting the members involved in our projects that we're doing. It's an ongoing learning experience on what we need to do and how to do it. Networking with other historical societies that we've been working on. We've had several roundtable discussions with area historical societies, trying to figure out if we can work together with some of our displays. I was the chairman of the Bradford 250 committee back in 2015. And I learned that you can't deal with Mother Nature the way you want to deal with her, because some of the best laid plans that we had didn't work out very well. I learned that publishing a book wasn't as easy as I thought it was going to be. I learned a lot from that, but I also learned that people were very interested and was very supportive and enjoyed the activities that we did do for the 250 celebration. Over the years, as I said, I've done a lot. I've served on the school board. I've served on Board of Social Concerns, Vermont Conference of Social Concerns. I have volunteered at Riverbend, and I received the Friends of Riverbend Award for my work with the students there. I interviewed students for the business class for more than 25 years, and the list goes on. Girl Scout, Sunday school, church, I mean,
Great.
On and on.
Great, thank you, Meroa. Todd, you're next. Can you tell us a little bit about some of your volunteer activities and what kind of experiences you've gleaned from them that might be helpful on the select board?
Yeah, sure. So having two young kids who are pretty active in sports and the outdoors keeps me pretty busy. But, most recently last year before COVID hit, I was the basketball coach for my son's 3rd and 4th grade. And I'll tell you, that's probably one of the most fun and rewarding things, being a coach to little kids. I mean, I had such a blast with these kids, and watching them grow from the beginning of the season to the end of the season, and just the joy that they got out of it. That was a lot of fun for me. And while I don't have a lot of time to get out and volunteer for actual organizations, anybody that really knows me knows that I'm the type of person that will pretty much drop anything and go and help if they call and need help with anything. It could just be help moving something, help fixing something, building something, whatever it is. I'm just the type of person that will just drop what I can and go and help them and get back to whatever it is I was working on when they're all set.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you, Todd. Anna, you're next.
So this is going to be a kind of a half-butted answer because I really feel uncomfortable kind of bragging about volunteer positions. It feels much less genuine when I try to make myself sound like a better person. But I can say that I've helped organize, I guess you could say, drives in which there was a need in the community, and we helped raise funds and we helped collect items for certain members of the community. I grew up a Girl Scout and a 4-H member, so always have been very involved in my community with that, doing the Girl Scout and 4-H stuff, farming and doing fundraisers and all that nonsense. Well, not nonsense, but you know what I mean.
Okay. Thank you, Anna. And Carole, you're next.
Well, I'm on a lot of committees that I volunteer for. So it's church, it's community, you name it, I'm on it. But I'm also the service officer for the town of Bradford. And I think that's one of the more important things that I feel very satisfied to be dealing with. So.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you, Carole. Okay. Next up is, and I will say we're going to be wrapping up sometime in the next 10 minutes, but we do have a couple more questions we want to get to. One of them, you all have touched a little bit on the importance of bringing new business into Bradford and supporting the existing business. And so this question comes directly from our chat and touches on an issue that's been of interest to a lot of Bradford residents over the past year, but What is your feeling about locally owned businesses versus national/chain type businesses? And so I will let you answer that question. Carole, why don't we start right back with you? What is your feeling about locally owned businesses versus national and chain type businesses?
Well, I would really like to see the local businesses come in, but I do feel that maybe one or two national businesses would help the community also.
Okay.
But I very much support the local businesses.
Great, thank you. Anna, let's go to you.
I think it really depends on what we're talking about here. First and foremost, I always support local. If I had to choose between local and a franchise, 100% would always be local. But I think it really depends what we're talking. If we're talking about a Walmart, I'm not really interested in that at all. If we're talking about like how we used to have a Subway restaurant on the corner right there, I'm cool with that. I miss Subway. I'm open to a few, well-known businesses that are small, like Subway, that come in and draw the population and bring more people in, so that they can, while they're here, they can see all the other local businesses as well. But I very much am support local all the way.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you, Anna. Meroa, you're next.
I think our small businesses are good, and I have nothing against them. But bringing money and visitors to town is important to me and to our tax base. I think if we keep the stores and the businesses lined up, I think that's a good thing. If it's a box store coming in, they hire local people. They have local managers that they generally bring in. And they bring a lot of people in with them too. So I'm all for commerce, and whatever it takes, let's do it. I could go on, but we probably better not.
Okay, thank you, Meroa. Sarah, you're next. What about local businesses and versus national businesses?
Sure. I think that there would have to be a lot of discernment that goes into the decision of a national business coming in. Local business is one of the things that we loved about Vermont as a whole. And I think it's great because it builds up the community, and it benefits locals. And I'm all for local business. I do think that sparingly national chains is fine, but there would have to be a lot of thought put into who it was affecting, like what businesses it was affecting, and how it would benefit the community. And so, yeah.
Excellent. Thank you, Sarah. And Todd?
Yeah, I agree strongly with Meroa. Bringing in, a franchise company, it's good. I mean, they're going to open up jobs for the community. They're going to bring people to town to come shopping there. So other of the local businesses, Mark Johnson's Village Store, people stop in, candy bar, coffee, whatever, it brings in extra money to some of the other small businesses in town. And, there are some low-income people in Bradford. We know that. And not everybody can afford sometimes to shop at the prices at local businesses. I know being a small business, sometimes you have to charge a higher price to increase your profit margin a little bit. But, having a little bit of competition also drives down some of the prices of the goods and, brings a better price to the consumer. So, people can sort of then choose whether they want to support local, or if, maybe they can't and they need to find a little bit more of a bargain, they might need to go to a franchise store. So I think it kind of can go both ways and sort of fits the needs of the whole community.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you, Todd. Well, folks, it is 7:56 and I wanted to end tonight by 8 p.m. So I think we're gonna cut it off there. And first of all, I want to thank our candidates, all 5 of you, for joining us tonight and for answering our questions and letting us hear a little bit more about you. And also wanted to thank you just for having an interest in running Bradford, which is great to see. Especially we need all the help we can get, you know, during a pandemic. So it's fantastic to see this much interest in being on the select board. And so I just wanted to conclude and remind folks that there is a informational meeting. So beyond voting on the select board members, folks will be voting on budgets and a number of other articles, and you can find out all about them and ask your questions on Monday night at, I believe it's at 6:30. Is that right, Monique?
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much. And then of course, town meeting day is March 2nd. And you can vote, the polls will be open from 10 to 7 p.m. on March 2nd, but of course you can vote early and request a ballot by mail or call the town clerk's office and arrange a time when you can go to the BA and vote early if you like. So with that, I think that's it for me.
And just one other thing to add. So this has been streaming to Facebook. So, and I can also load it to YouTube in case people want to share with people who are not on Facebook. I'll send it out on the listservs. So just in case anybody's not here that you want to share this video with, it'll be available shortly.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Monique.
Thank you,
everyone.
Alex. Thank you, Monique.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.